we'll do like we did with the last presenter, have you introduce yourselves, tell Nakia a little bit, and then we'll have Nakia present, and then provide feedback and questions.
So my name is Griselda. I am a youth community specialist, and I work for the nonprofit Latinos Program.
America Solkin, I'm Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at Whitworth University. I would have you read on creativity.
Oh, cool. I'm Cami Lamaro. I'm the Violence Prevention Coordinator at Spokane Regional Domestic Violence Coalition, and I teach the Relationship Resilience Wellness here at TCS.
Kelly Chadwick, Spirit Pruners, pruning company. We also advise estates and religious institutions on how to make beautiful settings.
Hi, Kenji Lene Bowie. I work for the League of Education Voters as an education advocate, and I am Tammy's son.
All right. Hello, my name is Nakia Burland, and this is my final grad defense. Now, before I begin, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt that the traditional way of learning just wasn't made for you? Like you were trying to fit into a mold that has never shaped with you in mind? Well, to be honest, that is me and still is me. I've always felt like I needed to find my own way. I don't just follow paths, I reshape them. If something doesn't work for me, I look at how I can change it, personalize it, and make it better for how I learn and how I live. And after 12 years of school, through the ups, the downs, and the detours, I now see myself pursuing a career in ironworking. That might not be what most people expect, but it's something I feel drawn to. And in these next few minutes, I want to walk with you through how I got here, through the lessons I've learned, the challenges I've faced, and the passions that guided me. Now, my 101 year. To be completely honest, TCS wasn't really my first choice. I didn't even really know what it was about at all. It was my mom who made the call to give it a shot at the time. To be honest, I was struggling with regular school curriculum in middle school. The traditional classroom, sitting in rows, taking notes, and memorizing facts just didn't click with how I learned best. When I came to TCS, everything felt new and a little weird at first, but slowly, I started to see something different here. Learning wasn't just about reading textbooks and passing tests. It was about collaboration, about projects, and about figuring things out independently. I remember working on projects that actually meant something. One of my favorites from that year was called Fight or Flight, which I couldn't find the picture of my catapult, but what I loved about the project, it was that I felt involved. Like my voice, my hands, and my mind all mattered in the learning process. And TCS wasn't just always about schoolwork, it was about giving back to the community. For Springfest that year, I joined a team that helped out with gardening for people in the community. I remember getting my hands dirty in the soil, planting flowers, and getting rid of weeds, and just feeling like I was a part of something real. That sense of community connection made a huge impression on me. It showed me that education could be more than just yourself, that it could be about helping others too. And that's a picture of me from that day. Now, my 201 year, it was like walking through a maze with no clear map. I was still figuring things out, not just about school, but about myself. I wasn't entirely comfortable yet, but I was becoming more aware of what I liked and what I didn't, and where I felt at ease. One thing that helped ground me during that time was leatherworking in our wellness classes. I know that might sound random, but there was something calming and satisfying about it. I remember sitting there with the tools in my hands, just focused, no distractions, no pressure. I made a bunch of wallets, which there's one of them right in the middle right there. That was one of the first ones I made. And I even tried designing little DIY bags, almost that kind of look like purses a bit at first. It might not sound like a big deal, but for me, that was one of the first times I saw how working with my hands could help clear my mind. The hands-on creativity really stuck with me. It made me realize how much I enjoy making something from nothing. Watching a flat piece of leather turn into something useful. Looking back, that probably helped set the foundation for my future interest in welding and ironworking. It's all connected. Another big part of 201 year was exploring new programs. We got to learn about new tech and running Start, and I started getting curious about what else was out there beyond TCS. I was especially drawn to new tech because I saw they offered graphic design courses, and since art has always been one of my passions, that caught my attention fast. I looked deeper into the program, checked out the curriculum, and made sure I turned in my application. That was a big deal for me, not just because of the opportunity, but because I took the initiative to chase something I was excited about. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was making moves and making plans. One of the classes I still remember from that year was called The Science of Happiness. At first, I wasn't sure what it was going to be about, but it turned out to be one of the most chill and meaningful experiences I had. We got to explore what makes us feel good mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Our final assignment had us take photos of ourselves doing something that made us happy, which I took that photo of me on a tree. And the reason why I climbed a tree in the school parking lot was because something being close to nature, high off the ground and surrounded by trees, it just clears my mind. It's like for those few minutes all the stress disappears and it's just me and the world around me. That photo wasn't just a class assignment. It was a snapshot of who I was trying to become, someone who finds peace in the chaos. Now, let's talk about my 301 year. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this one. This was probably the hardest year for me. Things started getting really overwhelming. I was trying to balance my classes at New Tech and my responsibilities at TCS, and I honestly felt like I was drowning. I kept telling myself I could handle it, but deep down, I knew I was slipping. Every little assignment started to feel like a mountain. I kept putting things off. Procrastination wasn't just a habit, it became a lifestyle. And the worst part, I didn't even ask for help. I didn't raise my hand, and I didn't speak up. I told myself I'll figure it out, but I didn't. I let the work pile up, and the more it stacked, the more it crushed me. I isolated myself in a way mentally and emotionally. I thought asking for help meant admitting I couldn't do it. I thought it meant I was weak. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. Not asking for help is way more dangerous than asking for it, because when you keep silent, your problems grow louder in your head. And yet, through all of that, I still held on to my passion, graphic design. Even when everything else was falling apart, I kept putting energy into that. I loved being creative, even when I didn't have the time or mental space to do it. I would stay up late designing stuff just to feel like I had control over something. But that came at a cost, because while I was focusing on what I loved, I wasn't keeping up with the responsibilities I needed to finish at TCS. And I paid for it big time. When I reached my 401 year, I was still behind, still making up credits from this year. That wasn't just stressful, it was frustrating. I felt like I was stuck in a loop trying to fix mistakes I had already made. But if there's one thing I want to say about that time, it's this. Don't let failure define you, let it shape you. I had to learn the hard way that life doesn't wait for you to get it together, but it will give you the opportunity to keep trying if you're willing to take it. Now we're at my 401 year, my final stretch. You'd think after everything I had already gone through, I'd be on top of things by now, right? But honestly, I started this year just like the others, doing my own thing, floating a bit and still procrastinating, still thinking I had time to figure it all out. It wasn't until our first exhibition that it really hit me hard. Sarah sat me down and gave it to me straight. She wasn't rude, but she was real. She reminded me how far behind I was and that I couldn't keep putting things off anymore. That moment stuck with me, not because I was embarrassed, but because I knew she was right. The stress was eating at me. I wasn't sleeping well. I'd sit at my desk at home with a blank screen thinking, how am I ever going to catch up? I even told myself things like, I'm not smart enough for this, I can't do it, or even worse, what's the point of trying anymore? But somewhere in all that mess, I had this thought, if I don't change something right now, this ends here. So I flipped the switch. Slowly, at first, I started turning in work, not all of it at once, but enough to feel like I had some momentum. I built that habit of just showing up for myself. No more excuses, no more telling myself I'd do it tomorrow, because I finally realized tomorrow never comes unless you build it. And let me tell you, retrieving credits from my 301 year while also trying to stay on top of 401 assignments, it was like running 2 races at once. But every piece of work I turned in gave me a little more confidence. Every finished task silenced the voice in my head telling me I couldn't do it. And that's something I wish more people understood. Your mind can either be your biggest cheerleader or your worst enemy. And during 401 year, I finally chose to start cheering for myself. I kept pushing even on the days I wanted to give up. I stopped procrastinating, not perfectly, but enough to keep moving forward. I started proving to myself that I could finish what I started, that I could overcome the stress, that I could be more than the version of myself I used to be. And look, that mindset got me here today, standing in front of you, graduating, not because it was easy, but because I refused to let the hardest moments be the end of my story. So here we are, graduation, the finish line, and the starting line. Like I said at the beginning, I don't do things the traditional way, and I'm not afraid of that anymore. I've come to accept that my path might not look like everyone else's. Some people go straight into college, some take gap years, and some, like me, choose to get into the workforce and build skills from the ground up. I've decided to go into ironworking and welding. I'm choosing this path not just because it pays well, though that's important, but because I enjoy working with my hands, building things, and being part of something real and physical. I want to learn a trade that will stay with me for life no matter where the world goes. I'm also choosing not to rush into college, and honestly, I think that takes just as much courage. I know myself. I know I'm still figuring things out. And the last thing I want is to jump into school again without a clear purpose and end up drowning in debt for a degree I'm unsure about. I'd rather take the time to explore my options, build financial stability, and then maybe go back to school when I know exactly what I want to do and how it fits into my life. Outside of work and school, I'm still me. I've always had hobbies and creative outlets that keep me grounded and happy. Music is one of them and has always been a huge part of who I am. I love listening to it, creating it, even if my songs aren't always radio friendly. Music gives me the space to express how I feel when words don't come easy. When I was deep into a game of GTA RP, I had a character known for making music. That probably sounds funny to some of you, but it was legit. I had a whole creative world built in there, and that's where I really started to realize I don't just like consuming music, I like creating it. And then another passion of mine is art. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't care if I'm not the best, art is personal. It's an expression, and for me, it's peace. I've got shaky hands sometimes, but I still find ways to make my lines flow together, and that's what matters. Another big passion of mine is skateboarding. I don't get to skate as much as I used to, but when I do, it's still my stress reliever. It gives me that perfect mental reset. I love thinking up of a new line, which is where you connect multiple tricks together in one smooth motion, and just going for it. No overthinking, just movement and rhythm. It's one of the few things that shuts my brain off in a good way. Someday, I want to make a film that combines all these passions, a mix of skating, music, visuals, and storytelling, kind of like those old CKY videos of Bam Margera or Steve-O's films. It's something I've always had in the back of my mind, and whether it gets big or stays small, I want it to exist just for me. I also love photography. I've always had an eye for finding cool scenic places, turning everyday things into moments worth remembering. I think we all need a way to capture what matters to us, and photography is mine. So, where do I see myself in 10 years? First and foremost, I want to be financially stable. I want to have enough to support myself, live comfortably, and help out my family if they need it. I might stay in Spokane for a while. I've got people here who really matter to me, but I also do want to travel, find new spots that inspire me, and experience things I've never seen before. I want to keep growing creatively and mentally, whether that means taking music more seriously, building a design portfolio, or even going into college. I want those decisions to come from a place of confidence and not pressure. I want to make that film I talked about, even if it's just me and a camera and some homies skating in a parking lot while my music plays in the background. I just want to do it to prove myself I can. And most importantly, I want to live by this one lesson. Accomplishments don't always come with a paycheck. Sometimes they come with peace of mind, growth, and pride in yourself. And if I can hold on to that, I know I'll be all right. So that's my story. Sometimes messy journeys through TCS and beyond. I went from someone who constantly put things off and doubted themselves to someone who took accountability, showed up for themselves, and figured out how to move forward one step at a time. To anyone out there who feels like the traditional path doesn't fit them, that's okay. It didn't fit for me either, but I made it my own, and you can too. Thank you for listening to my story, and thank you to my teachers and to the people who believed in me when I didn't. And most of all, thank you to myself for not giving up, and let's see what the next chapter begins. Thank you.
All right, we'll open up for feedback and questions from your panel.
Nakia, great job, really. I've got a couple of things. First, I want to read you some of the quotes that you said. My voice, my mind, and my hands mattered. Tomorrow never comes unless you build it. I wasn't just reacting anymore. And then movement and rhythm. You said some really profound things. I think you're very wise and really reflective, which I really appreciate. And that really showed in the presentation, but I think also you've been doing a lot of self-reflection, introspection over the last year, and that really shows. I got a couple of questions. One, I just am curious why ironwork? Just because you said your passion is graphic design. I will say the first thing I wrote was forging your own path, and then you said metalwork, and I was like, yeah, I nailed it. But I'm just curious, like, yeah, why, what, where that come from? Yeah.
Well, honestly, it was kind of just like a why not option at first, and then I really started to look into it, and I also have family members that could help give me their experience on it so I could get a good start into it. And I just mostly want to be able to have the money to stay afloat.
No, I think that's great. And you talking about wanting to travel. One of the ways I always talk about traveling is getting a trade. You can go and work really anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Trades are consistent across the globe. I am going to change my book recommendation. I think you should read Travels by Michael Crichton. He wrote Jurassic Park. This is one of the only non-fiction that he wrote. It's about his life and his travels, and it's very reflective, introspective about why he's traveling and what he's getting from the world, and I think you would really enjoy it. Yeah, thank you. Great job. Oh, and I'll add, I think you should name your skate video Movement and Motion, Movement and Rhythm. Yeah.
Kind of jumping onto that, a quote that really stuck with me, and I wrote it down, was don't let failure define you, let it shape you. I think a lot of the time, failing is scary and the unknown is scary, but I think a lot of the time that makes us go in different paths and find ourselves truly. So I think that really stuck with me, because as someone, when you mentioned your 10-year plan, I actually graduated from high school 10 years ago. So just know that if your 10-year plan is X, Y, Z and you don't reach that it's okay. All these different moments, people you surround yourself with, different experiences will shape you, and eventually you'll get to where you need to be. And I was really moved by your presentation.
It's really hard to dig yourself out of the procrastination hole when you get into it, so congratulations on doing that. Yeah, I think that you're on the right track, kind of just giving it a bit before you make your next plan. and finding your own way, like you talked about. Yeah, great presentation. If we're doing travel books, you know, On the Road, Jack Kerouac, it's a classic, it's a quick read and really fun.
I think you did a great job. While you're in Spokane, I hope you are open to maybe coming back, because I'm certain there will be other students who went through what you did. And you know, your teachers can come to you and go, you can do this, I believe in you, yes, it's hard. But if you had somebody like you, just a couple years older, who said, okay, this is what happened to me, would that have resonated more? Maybe, maybe not, right? It depends on the person, but if you could be that voice to somebody 2 or 3 years younger than you and come back and go, totally been where you are, I know what you're thinking, let me tell you how I got out of it, I think you could make a huge difference in somebody's life. So I hope that's something that you'd be open to, and I hope you guys would call him, because you know how to articulate it really well as well. I love your plan. Know that there's a lot of really beautiful artistic opportunities in metalwork, and I hope you start to play with those a little bit as you start your trade training, and you learn more about sort of the art of welding, as well as the career opportunities of the work of welding. And then the further out you get, the harder some people have said it is to go back, especially in the creative arts. I don't think that's gonna dissuade you, but I want you just to know that your brain might put that barrier up and say, oh my gosh, don't wanna go back to school with a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds when here I am at whatever age you decide to make that pivot. I'm gonna be in this different life stage, it's gonna be weird, embrace the weird. But if you do find yourself kind of coming back and saying, I really do wanna go back for music or for graphic design or for art, that you won't let that dissuade you, that you'll actually say, I'm so much more of an interesting person, I'm gonna bring all of that to my studies, it's gonna be an incredible experience. Get past that little bit of dissonance that your brain might throw up, because I think you'll find lots of cool opportunities in front of you, and you already have experience kind of tackling what is challenging and getting yourself past it. I'm gonna stick with On Creativity. I think that'd be a good book for you.
You pronounce your name?
Nakia.
Nakia. Cool. You're so good at, as people mentioned, so good at sharing wisdom, but what I like is you do it in a very matter-of-fact way, which makes it digestible to people, opposed to preachy, you know, so that's awesome. I have 2 questions. One is, and you talked about this transformation you have with procrastination. Many of us have faced this. And it seemed like your solution was willpower and just make a decision and change, reorienting, which is awesome. I'm curious if there were any, and I have a question after this, if there was any unconscious motives that you identified that were holding you back, or patterns that you hadn't, that weren't kind of at the forefront of your mind that you had to look at?
Honestly, it was just mostly like me telling myself I'm probably not smart enough to do this anyways in time, and just kind of using that excuse, and I had to just like almost lie to myself and tell myself that I am smart enough, I can do this, and then it eventually just got into my brain.
Nice. My other question is very practical. You're choosing a blue-collar route, and I am hugely supportive, because it's called, you know, I don't know if you've heard the term DOMO, downwardly mobile, but I had a corporate position for many, many years, and I ended up pruning trees and love it. So I really support you in the blue collar. I think it's under respected. That's changing. The biggest issue I see is there's still a mentality of macho-ness in it that can be detrimental to one's body. So whether it be being exposed to toxins or lifting things, and people will push you and people feel like they can't stand up for themselves. So my question is, how do you plan to protect yourself, your body, you know, your senses in that profession?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I've kind of always been skinny my whole life, so I've always had that fakeness of macho towards people. But I always just I always push myself. That's something I could always say. And I just make sure whatever it is, I'm going to find my way to get it done, whether I need to be stronger physically or mentally through it.
Nakia, it's been a long road. I appreciated you sharing the journey so that people could see how far you've come. I'm really proud of you. Sorry.
It's fun.
Well done, Nakia.
Panelists, thank you so much for being here. As many of you know, because a lot of you have been here before, we have an unending supply of Girl Scout cookies, and we desperately need your help. Please take as many boxes, plural, as you can carry on your way out the door. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. But as a panelist, we still have to order the